All right, the Georgia Bulldogs are a 6.5-point favorite over the Texas Longhorns, according to our buddies at BetQL. Make sure that you're taking advantage of the code that's on the screen. I use BetQL consistently to monitor what people are thinking and doing about these games. Texas, I thought it'd be 4.5 or 5.5, something like that. It's at 6.5. It moved Sunday morning. So you probably had a decent bet on that. Take it from there. I think Georgia's going to win this game. 6.5 is starting to kind of get up there for me. I will say Texas played better against Vanderbilt in what was definitely a must-win game for the Horns. That fourth quarter collapse against Vanderbilt was not a good precursor to playing the best fourth quarter team in the country. So I think it's going to take a lot for Texas to come into Athens and win this game. They have not been a team that's consistently pinned up and playing well. If Arch Manning plays really well, if Texas plays the way they did the first three quarters against Vanderbilt, they certainly could win, maybe should win the game. But that would also perhaps not think too much about what Georgia's been like here lately. Defensively, Georgia has played better lately. These last two games, they really have played well. I know Florida's offense sucks, but of the 20 points Florida scored, 14 of them were basically set up with the Gators. They were set up with the Gators at the 40-yard line or in. So it's not that hard to score from there. Got to not let them have touchdowns. But Georgia cleaned it up Saturday pretty well. And then to go for 500-plus yards, 300 yards rushing against State, what they did, and it's not a great defense, but then what they did against the Gators, just like walking the dog on that whole thing in the fourth quarter. I think, I talked about this earlier, is Georgia turning the corner? It feels like that to me. I don't think they played their best against Florida by any stretch. In fact, I felt like they kind of went backwards. But in totality, when you look at the last few games, and now I'm kind of getting confused with the season. The win over Tennessee was a huge deal, clearly. And then you talk about, week off, very difficult loss to Alabama, a game they certainly should have won, but did not. Maybe they should not have beaten Tennessee. But anyway, and then they go throttle Kentucky. They played well at noon this year, Georgia. Say that. And then, a week later, really dominating Auburn in the second half, holding them to 10 points, an Auburn team that I guess just didn't know how to score with Hugh Freeze as their coach. And then a week later, coming to Athens and scoring a bunch of points against a Mississippi defense that's not great, and then stopping Ole Miss when you had to in the fourth quarter, completely shutting them down. The thing about Georgia's defense as it stands right now is they will get you multiple quarters where the other team does not score. And you need to get 17 or so points in that time. And if you can do that, then the game becomes kind of out of whack. If Georgia gets up on you by 2 scores, then it's a ton of pressure at that point. We got to go here or these guys are going to anaconda us. So that's the part to me about Georgia and the way that they're playing. They against Tennessee and against Auburn, it was, they're letting everybody score at the beginning of these games and all this stuff, getting out of reach and all this stuff. Well, that's not really happened since. So, or that I can recall. They got down after Auburn, they played Ole Miss. Ole Miss scored, but Georgia scored literally every day. There's a lot of these games where Georgia's scoring every drive or 8 out of 10 drives. That's some serious efficiency, okay? If the offense is going to look, my caveat with this team is if the offense is going to play like it did here lately in 2 of these 3 games, then you should bet on Georgia to win the national championship because it's an extreme value right now. They're too low, but I don't anticipate that. Okay, I think they're going to continue to have to, at times grind, but I'm thinking off the top. Again, I'm sorry, it's a lot of this off the top of my head. yesterday was over 40 points. You take a knee purposely at the 1 to not score over 30 against the Gators. The week before that was Ole Miss, where they scored 40, I think. The week before that was the Auburn game, not the best offensive game. And then, the week before that was Kentucky, where they scored 35 points. So getting over 30 is not becoming a problem at all. And, a lot of people, they're just not scoring on Georgia. Yesterday State scored 20 points, 21. But, that was not against the first team. I don't even know if the second touchdown was against the first team. The first one clearly was. Against the Gators, 20 points. Game before that, Ole Miss and Tennessee are not like everybody else in terms of scoring. And then, Kentucky, Alabama, Tennessee certainly, and then the 2 games before that. So this is a Georgia team that has the capability really they're just putting it together, it looks like. It looks like they're putting it together. Kirby was overwhelmingly chilled out after this game. I don't know what's going on with this guy right now, but I know there's really, no reason to be agitated when guys are working. He knows what they're doing in practice. That is the most important thing by far, not close. The games are just your ability to go out and practice what you practice. And that's why they're having such success. What are they going to do to pressure Arch Manning? Do they have to pressure Arch Manning? Is he going, and was the Vanderbilt game normal for him, or was that an out of, when you do what I did in grad school, you do a regression analysis, you look at these dots, are this doesn't make sense at all. That's how he kind of played against Vandy, and that's not who he's been most of the time. The way that Georgia beat Florida, the way they beat Mississippi State, the way they beat Ole Miss, the way they beat Kentucky, nothing strange happened in those games. They can score a bunch of points. They can stop you on defense. There's not a lot of oh, what's going on here? No, not really. Nothing's surprising. There's not these whacked out roller coaster games in terms of production. Georgia's defense is pretty good when they're not playing Mississippi or Tennessee. Georgia's offense is pretty good when they're not, you don't want to turn it over. But I think they're in good shape. They're just not, they're not obviously the best team. They're not obviously going to be favored in every game. They're not, there's things still to clean up. And I'd be concerned about injuries to some degree. What's the status with Drew Bobo? Kirby didn't seem like it was a big deal there. Back to Kirby, though. He's very chilled out after that win over State. And it can be that they are, that he knows that what they're doing is adding up in practice. That's very possible. I'd say probable. Is Georgia getting better? It sure looks like it to me. I think they took a step back a little bit against Florida, but it sure looks like it to me. And the question is, are they getting better? It looks like it to me. And what does that mean? Well, to me, that means that you are, you have to now in college football, and you've had to for a little bit, but you have to surge at the end, or at least not surge, but you have to build on everything. You got to keep getting better. With Alabama, they've got to run the ball better. What does Georgia need to do better? Okay? That's the question that Kirby and them got to answer. And against State, there wasn't really a bunch to fuss about. But this Texas is more talented. They are the second most talented, or the most talented team Georgia will see this year. Certainly in the regular season, but maybe the entire year. I think Ohio State, Alabama, Texas, Georgia, they are the most talented teams, talent-wise. But Texas just has not played like that. They fought with Ohio State. That wasn't a bad loss. It's just offense looked horrible. But it's not gotten tons and tons better. They're about to go up against a defense that, again, outside of those two games, you're just not doing a lot against these guys. When is Georgia going to have a defensive score? So all of those things combined. Listen, hey, by the way, I will be at Red Zone this Friday, probably before lunch. I will fill you in on that. I'm looking forward to hanging out with Scott and Minnie for, extended period of time. I don't know how long. I don't want to get in their way. Make sure you're dropping by Red Zone to take in all the festivities on Friday before Georgia and Texas. But I don't know. I think this team has gotten noticeably better. Now, how much better? I don't know. But they're better. They're better for sure. And it's one of these things where you needed to get through the beginning part of that season. That stretch of Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky, Auburn, Ole Miss, that was a lot. But you had, in that time, you had a break. They don't have a break now. Like, they could play 6 games in a row. That's a lot. That's a lot. And they probably, I don't know if they will or they won't. I mean, if A&M loses it all, Georgia's going to go to the SEC championship game. But I don't know. I mean, you got to keep it going. The Texas game is an important game for both schools. Texas got to win, and if they don't, it's over for Texas. But right now, I want to look at it a little bit longer. I'm leaning to taking Texas against the line. But for Georgia, I completely anticipate them winning this game. I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be shocked if they didn't. Texas is going to have to really play well to win. Thanks for watching.